Ravi always sat on the last bench, not because he liked it, but because that's where the world had left him. In Class 10 of a fading government school in the heart of Rajasthan, Ravi had no friends, no ambitions, no expectations. He had already earned a reputation. Slow learner, mute boy, failure. The kind of student teachers ignored and classmates mocked. But what no one saw was a journey Ravi made every day. 6 kilometers, barefoot, through dusty roads, past dried-out fields and thorny bushes. Not because he believed school would change his life, but because it was the only place where he could sit silently for a few hours without lifting bricks or collecting firewood. His house, if one could call it that, was a 2-room mud hut with a leaking roof. His father worked at a brick kiln and came home only to eat and sleep. His mother cooked on a wood stove and coughed all night. His elder brother, Ramu, had left for Mumbai 5 years ago and hadn't called since. Not even once. Ravi never asked why. He didn't ask much of anything. At school, he scribbled meaningless lines in his notebook, hoping no one would ask him to read aloud. But fate, as cruel as ever, played its hand. It was an English class. The teacher pointed at Ravi. "You, last bench, read the paragraph." He froze. The page swam before his eyes. The word apple sat at the top, innocent and small. He opened his mouth, tried to say it, but the sound choked in his throat. A few kids chuckled. Can't even read apple? What's he doing in class 10? The teacher sighed and moved on. Ravi sat down, his head lowered, face burning. That night, under a threadbare blanket, Ravi cried. He turned to the wall and let the tears fall, soaking into the mud floor. He wasn't angry. He wasn't even sad anymore. Just empty. 2 weeks later, a new English teacher arrived, Mr. Fernandez. He was unlike any teacher they'd seen. He had peppered hair, wore simple shirts tucked in neatly, and his eyes were always smiling, even when he was strict. On his 3rd day, he scanned the class and said, "You, last bench. Name." "Ravi," came the weak reply. "Why last bench, Ravi?" No answer. "Tomorrow, sit in the front row. Right here." He pointed to the 2nd bench. A murmur spread across the class. Ravi didn't know why, but he obeyed. The next day, he walked into the classroom 10 minutes early and took the seat Mr. Fernandez had reserved. For the first time, someone had called him forward, not to punish him, not to shame him, but to sit among those who belonged. It felt strange, but good. Mr. Fernandez was different. He didn't just teach, he talked. He asked about their families, their dreams. He told stories about people who had nothing but changed everything. One afternoon, he wrote a sentence on the board. Words have power. Then he looked at Ravi. "Read it." Ravi hesitated. "Try. W words H have P, power. Power." Mr. Fernandez said softly. "Good. Again." And so they did it again and again. Day by day, Ravi read a little better, wrote a little clearer, spoke a little louder. The class still teased him, but now, not as much, because he had started to change. One day after school, Mr. Fernandez found Ravi sweeping the classroom. "Why are you cleaning?" "No reason. You should be home." "I like it here." "Why?" Ravi paused and whispered. "It's quiet and safe." Mr. Fernandez didn't push. He just said, "Come tomorrow, I'll stay after school. We'll read together." Thus began their after-school lessons. Mr. Fernandez brought old English books, short stories, and sometimes even chocolates. He never treated Ravi like a charity case. He treated him like someone who mattered. One day he asked, "Why don't you wear shoes?" "I don't have any." 2 days later, a box appeared on Ravi's desk. Black shoes, slightly oversized. "I can't take these," Ravi said. "You're not taking. You're borrowing," Mr. Fernandez replied. "Repay me when you get your first salary." Those shoes pinched Ravi's toes but lifted his soul. Weeks turned to months. Ravi started scoring better. His handwriting improved. He even answered questions in class, tentatively but bravely. Then came a notice. District-level essay competition. Topic, my dream. Ravi picked up a pen and wrote for hours. He wrote about his village, his family, and his dream of becoming a teacher. Not because he wanted to earn money, but because he wanted to make students like him feel seen. He didn't win, but Mr. Fernandez submitted his essay anyway and pinned it on the staff room board. "You wrote from the heart," he said. "That's worth more than any trophy." One evening, Ravi stayed back to clean up. Mr. Fernandez was reading a book. "Sir," Ravi asked, "why do you teach?" Mr. Fernandez smiled. "Because when I was your age, someone believed in me. I'm just returning the favor." Ravi nodded. "I'll do that too. Someday." "You will." At the end of the year, Mr. Fernandez was transferred. On his last day, he handed Ravi a notebook. On the front, written in neat cursive, "To Ravi, who belongs in the front row." They shook hands, and just before leaving, Mr. Fernandez said, "I'm proud of you. Never forget who you are." The bus drove away. Ravi stood there for a long time. The notebook clutched to his chest. Ravi topped English in the board exams. People were stunned. "He, the last bencher?" They whispered. "Yes, him." He joined a small college in Jaipur. He worked as a waiter in the evenings, studied at night. He mailed his results to Mr. Fernandez's last known address every year. Even though no reply came, he sent money home. He repaired the roof, bought his mother a radio, found his lost brother through an NGO. Ramu was a construction worker now, struggling but alive. Years passed. Ravi became a teacher, not in a fancy school, but in the same village he came from. And he was not like other teachers. He didn't just teach. He listened. He sat with students after class. He bought shoes for the barefoot ones. He wrote "You matter" on every student's report card. He named his coaching center the Front Row Foundation. One evening, a frail old man entered the center. He looked around slowly at the charts, the photos, the blackboard. Then their eyes met. "Mr. Fernandez?" The man smiled. "I kept your letters. All of them." Ravi hugged him. "Not like a student, like a son." Mr. Fernandez said, "I saw your ad. You're looking for a part-time English tutor. Is the job still open?" Ravi laughed. "Sir, the front row is always open for you." And somewhere in a glass box in Ravi's office sat a pair of worn-out black shoes. Because sometimes that's all it takes. A pair of shoes, a second row seat, and someone who believes